Jim Ratcliffe reveals whether Manchester United are in the race for Kylian Mbappe this summer. Jadon Sancho price has been set. But will Donald Malen be coming to Manchester United as part of the deal? These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's show. But before we jump into that, please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching, and let's get straight on into it. So let's start the show off talking a little bit about Jadon Sancho. This is coming out from Florian Plettenberg, very reliable journalist over in Germany, reports for Sky Sports. And he is reporting that Borussia Dortmund are willing to pay around 35 million euros for Jadon Sancho, which is about 30 million pounds if you're, if you're here in the UK. And he goes on to say that the player can really imagine staying at Dortmund long term. His salary will be the biggest sticking block. Also, Manchester United could still change manager, and it's unclear how Ineos plan to deal with Sancho. He says more talks are scheduled in the next few weeks. I'll say this, right? Regardless of whether Erik ten Hag's here after the summer or not, I don't think Jadon Sancho should come back. I think he's disgraced the club. I think he's disgraced the players, the manager, the fans, and I think he's let everyone down. And I don't think we, in a new Manchester United, where positivity is starting to form around the new owners, around Ineos, around Sir Dave Brailsford, all the rest of it, we don't need people like this at the club who are going to ultimately act like children. So yeah, for me, regardless of what happens with Ten Hag, Jadon Sancho needs to be sold. Obviously, 35 million euros is a very small amount of money when you compare that to how much we paid for him. We paid, I think, 75 million euros, what was it, 2-3 seasons ago, to now sell him back to them for 35 million. It's laughable, but it is just another example of how badly Manchester United have been run over the last 10 plus years. So am I happy about this? Yes, I think it makes the most sense. He's only got 2 years left of his deal. If we're going to get a decent fee for him, it needs to be this summer, because otherwise next summer, you've probably got to loan him out for another whole season, and then he'll only have a year left. So with 2 years left on his contract, 35 million euros, yes, it's low, but I would take it. But I want you guys to let me know in the comment section, how much do you think Jadon Sancho is worth? Where do you think he'll end up? Do you think we should sell him, or do you think he should stay? Let me know what your thoughts are. I always like to see what you guys have to say. Moving on to the next story, I wanted to highlight something that Jim Ratcliffe spoke about. So he's just done an interview with a podcast called Geraint Thomas Cycling Club. So he's just done an interview with them. Really, really interesting. Some really great quotes have come out from it. And one of them was asked about who he wants to win the Premier League. Obviously, Man United aren't going to win the Premier League this season. That's all but confirmed. And the interviewer asks him, who would you like to win the Premier League? Now, Arteta says, ultimately, I hate all of them. I hate Arsenal, I hate Liverpool, and I hate Man City. But he says, this is a direct quote. He says, it would be good for Arteta. He's done really well at Arsenal, and Arsenal have been very patient with him, which is nice as well. And I thought this was really, really interesting, actually, because this really opens the door for me to Erik ten Hag staying. How long has Arteta been at Arsenal for? Is it 6 years now? He's been there for a long time anyway. A very long time. And I think he's won one trophy, which was the FA Cup, and that's it. Erik ten Hag won one trophy in his first season. And Mikel Arteta, as I said, has been there for 6 years it is. This is his 6th year as the Arsenal manager. He's been there a very long time, and he's not really won very much, has he? One FA Cup in 6 years. And I just thought it was really interesting that, on this podcast, Jim Ratcliffe has said that he likes that Arsenal have been patient with him. And it makes me think, are they going to be patient with Erik ten Hag? I have a feeling they might, after reading that this morning, I think it did really give a bit of an insight into how Jim Ratcliffe's thinking. And I hope they are patient with him. I hope they give him at least next season. I hope they clear out as many players as possible in the summer. The Donny van de Beeks, the Sanchos, the Maguires, the McTominays. The list goes on and on and on and on. We could probably pick out 10 to 15 players that should be let go of in the summer. Obviously, Martial will go. Johnny Evans might go. Like, Wan-Bissaka's probably going to go, etc., etc. You get the idea. We don't need to run through all of them on today's video. But I think that patience is the key here for Erik ten Hag. I think this summer we need to reconsolidate. Hopefully we'll have Dan Ashworth. We'll have, obviously, Omar Barada behind the scenes. All of these top people working on Manchester United. We get rid of loads of people. We say to Eric, you've got 12 more months left of your contract. We want to see improvements this season. We want to see us comfortably in the top 4, if not competing for the Premier League. We want to see us, going far in the Europa League, if that's where we are. And then if it doesn't work out that season, you sack him, because he's the end of his contract anyway. So we wouldn't have to pay him any money, and you can kind of go into it knowing that you've given him the chance he deserves. I mean, 3 years to start producing proper things, I think, is a fair amount of time. 1 year isn't 18 months isn't. He's been there for 18 months. And for me personally, you should be giving a manager at least 2 or 3 years before you start throwing the book at him. So I really, really like this from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I hope that this is a bit of a clue into, what his plans are. Keeping on the topic of that interview, Jim Ratcliffe has asked about whether he is going to try and sign Kylian Mbappe this summer, which sounds like a bit of a stupid question. But at the end of the day, Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We should be in the race for every big player. We should be able to do that. And we have the resources to do that. We have the biggest fan base, make so much from commercial. And so this is Jim Ratcliffe's direct response to that question. He says, I'd much rather find the next Mbappe rather than spending a fortune trying to buy success. It's not that clever, really, is it? He says, buying Mbappe in a way much more challenging is to find the next Mbappe or the Bellingham. And I agree with that. I do. I think, teams like Real Madrid can afford to do this. They're already at the top. Bringing in someone like Kylian Mbappe is just going to make them even better. Whereas Manchester United are probably 8 players away from competing for a Premier League or competing for a Champions League or a League Cup or whatever, a Europa League. We're so far away from it at the moment that bringing in Kylian Mbappe isn't going to suddenly make us win the Champions League. Like, it won't. And it would cost so much money that I actually agree fully with Jim Ratcliffe. And the interesting thing for me is that that if this was the Glazers, we would probably be linked to Mbappe all summer. We would, because the Glazers love to do these types of deals. You think Di Maria, you think of people like Falcao, Ibrahimovic, Cristiano Ronaldo when he came back. Like, there's been so many examples over the last 15 years where we've brought in players purely for the commercial reason, purely to sell shirts. Obviously, Mbappe's a world-class player, so it's not really comparable, but you know what I mean. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Should Manchester United be trying to sign Kylian Mbappe, or do you agree with what Jim Ratcliffe has said and that we should be looking for the next Kylian Mbappe? I definitely agree with him, but let me know what you guys think. Jumping back over to the Bundesliga and to Borussia Dortmund, there's another story coming out from Plättigol, same journalist, saying that Malen wants to leave Dortmund and is expected to depart in the summer. He goes on to say, however, Malen to Manchester United is not currently a hot topic. Obviously, we were linked to Malen in January. We tried to sign him on loan, I believe. Obviously, we know that Borussia Dortmund want to keep Jadon Sancho. And as this story says, Malen wants to leave Dortmund. Now, is there a world where we maybe buy Malen and they buy Sancho? I could see that happening. The story goes on to say that apparently Liverpool are also really interested in signing him. 25 years of age, obviously Dutch international, plays on the right wing, but can also play as a left winger and as a striker. He's had a pretty good season in the Bundesliga. He's got 11 goals and 3 assists in 23 matches, which I think is pretty good. If we could sell Sancho for 35 million and buy Malen for 35 million, I would be happy with that. I really, really would. So it's one to keep an eye on. At the moment, obviously, it's a long way until the transfer window opens. So who knows what will happen at that point. We know that obviously Michael Olise is apparently our top target, but I would be equally as happy with Malen, to be honest. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section. Who would you prefer to sign, Malen or Michael Olise? Let me know. Give me your reasons as well, or if there's somebody else you think we should go for, then you can also do that as well. Obviously, all the players have now gone off to international break, so they're all doing interviews with their national team. And Bruno Fernandes has been speaking about the potential signing of Joao Neves. Unbelievable player. Obviously plays for Benfica at the moment. Portuguese international already. Very young, very talented. And somebody who, alongside Kobe Mainoo, that could be your midfield for the next 10 plus years. So Bruno says the following on Joao Neves. He says, I don't know if the United rumours are true, but I know he is ready for the big jump. He is an excellent player. He's with the national team. That's also why the big clubs are after him. So I would love to see Joao Neves come to Manchester United. I think it would be an incredible signing. The only issue, if you like, with that signing is the transfer fee. He has a 100 million euros release clause at Benfica, which is obviously a ridiculous amount of money for a 19-year-old. Now, I know people will say, what about Moises Caicedo? He went for over 100. Bellingham went for ridiculous money as well. And if a player is good enough, I don't think age really matters, but it's whether Manchester United, as Jim Ratcliffe said earlier on in the video, do Manchester United want to find the next Joao Neves? Go and sign him for 5 to 10 million, opposed to paying £100 million for one player, or euros, sorry, for one player that might not work. It's a risky tactic. If he comes in and it doesn't work, then you've got another ridiculously overpriced player on your books, like Sancho, like Maguire, like most of our players that we've spent big money on. It hasn't worked, has it? So as much as I'd love to see him at Manchester United, I think 100 million euros in this summer might be a little bit steep, but we'll obviously keep you updated, and obviously let me know what you guys think about Joao Neves to Manchester United. Would you like to see him at the club or not? Those are all the topics for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to smash a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all a bit later.